All right, we're going to take a look at some of the wildest price predictions for this crypto markets. We're going to be taking a look into both the upside and downside predictions based on some news headlines, what I am seeing on my own charts, and what I will be telling you about this bull run that I still very much think it's still on. Of course, I am long on Bitcoin and quite a bit of these altcoins here, so my opinion on this market is still bullish. But of course, these are just my opinions and not financial advice. We're also going to be taking a look into a few altcoins, meme coins, which are Neiro. See what's happening with Neiro Coin. What could be doing in the very short term future. I think there could be a major move coming for Neiro sometime soon. Also, going to be taking a look into PNUT, the Squirrel. See what has happened in this market as well, and Turbo Coin later in this video, usually after the 10-minute mark, because I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin first and the macro markets, because Bitcoin is still the driver of this market. If it pumps, very good for the altcoins. However, if it dumps from here and basically dumps below 110K, this is going to be very bad for the altcoins, and this bull run is going to look a little shakier. Okay, so I don't trade altcoins unless I have a clear understanding of what the Bitcoin chart is doing. All right, let's go ahead and go to some news first before diving into the charts. I'm going to give you guys my instant reaction to some major headlines. All right, this one is by Cointelegraph. Bitcoin options point to growing caution. Bitcoin price to 110K next. Well, 110K was the breakout point of that cup and handle pattern I've been talking about on the weekly time frame. I would not be surprised if it goes back to retest 110K. I do think that that it's in the cards, but we do still have quite a bit of moving averages coming above 110K. That is going to be support for Bitcoin. I'm going to point to some of those support levels to you right now because it's going to be very important to be paying attention to, since those are going to be some bounce levels where Bitcoin can bounce off of. Okay. Now, Bitcoin analysis warns Bitcoin price going lower first as 113K slips. I mean, I think the next stop would be 110K, but there's still, that's the key level, but we still do have moving averages coming up to the price action here. Like I said, I'll point it out to you guys. Could it, hit those moving averages and take a quick drop to 110? That could still happen, right? Very important that we hold above 110, right? With candle closes on some of these higher time frames, of course. All right, next is going to be also by Cointelegraph. Top 5 cities where you can pay rent entirely in Bitcoin. I think this is probably going to be an interesting read as, Bitcoin is becoming more mainstream. We're seeing more adoption by institutions, governments. So it's no surprise that you can pay rent entirely in Bitcoin in some of these cities. You could probably read some more into this piece here. I think it's just a little bit of entertainment, but it seems like Miami, Lisbon, Berlin, Toronto, and Paris, right, seems to be the cities here. Okay, that's good to know. Let's go ahead and go to the next piece. This is by Crypto News. Crypto ETF sell off. Bitcoin loses 333 million. Ethereum 465 million in a single day outflow. Bull run over. I don't think the bull run is over at this time. I still think there's a very good chance that the bull run is still on because of the monthly RSI reading. I've been pointing that out. Even though we have bearish divergence on the monthly RSI, there has been exceptions, namely back in December 2020, October 2017, where major breakouts have happened that these divergence signals have been invalidated. So I am not counting that out. Of course, it's not 100%, but I'm just saying, there still is a pretty good chance that this bull run is still on, right? I'll let you guys know when I change my opinion, but right now it's still looking like it's still on, and the monthly RSI is still nowhere near that FOMO level where that tells me it's the peak of this bull cycle. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one. Against the grain. This is by News BTC. Against the grain, analyst targets 300K Bitcoin price. When will it happen? So I think 300K is very much in the cards. And why is this important for the altcoins? Is because if Bitcoin has more room to run, then so will the altcoins. Okay, so this is why you want to be rooting again for Bitcoin if you're a bull here. So let's see. Let's dive a little bit into this text here, right? It says he believes Bitcoin will climb to at least 300K by end of 2026. Okay, so it's a little bit far out, but I do think it is very possible, right? I still think there is going to be two waves in this bull cycle, right? I think we're still at the beginning of the first wave since we just broke out of 110K. Very important that we hold that level, right? Um, but if you actually look back into previous bull cycles, the previous two, 2021, there were two waves, right? The first wave kind of ended in May 2021, and then it started back again about late July 2021. So was 2017. There was also two waves. You can see very clearly on the monthly RSI. That is a very simple and effective indicator I use. All right, let's come back here to the charts and take a look take a look into what could be happening with Bitcoin here. So let me just point it out to you. Monthly RSI here. Okay. We are nowhere near those FOMO levels like back in right here, which was 2021. 2017, we're still here. Okay, so in my opinion, um, we are still very early in a bull cycle, right? And I still don't think we are at the peak of one, right? The price target for this breakout is still 145K, which is the weekly time frame. Cup and handle pattern. It could still be retesting that breakout point at about 110K, but this still looks like a cup and handle pattern breakout to me. Let's take a look into daily time frame. So after I made yesterday's Bitcoin video, I realized that this is a falling wedge on the daily time frame, which is a bullish pattern. Okay. And it usually breaks to the upside, and if it does, we still have a price target of about just right underneath 125K there if it breaks out by this point. Very important to be paying attention to this daily time frame right now, because it is on the daily 50 SMA, right? There could be a double bottom scenario on the daily time frame and probably on the lower time frames, something to be watching out for. And if there's another drop here, right? There's also a likely bullish divergence scenario on this daily time frame, given the strength of that bounce, right? From 2 days ago. So if it comes back down to make a equal or lower low here, there is a very likely chance that there is a bullish divergence scenario, which usually indicates a reversal or a bounce. Something to be looking out for. We have the 3-day 21 SMA that's going to be coming up as moving average as well, as support that is currently at about 100, just right above 112, right below 112K there, the blue line. So quite a bit of moving averages between now and 110K. That's why I'm really not too worried right now, right? I'm actually, if I have dry powder, I would be taking a look into getting into some longs for leverage for a scalp. Now let's go ahead and go to ES1 exclamation mark. Very important to be paying attention to this right now because things are looking less certain, right? as opposed to if we are in a massive breakout. But right now things are looking a little less certain, right? And we have the ES1 exclamation mark, which is the S&P 500 futures, right? Looking kind of similar to Bitcoin, at least in the past 2 days, right? It did have a drop, and then it had a pretty good comeback, bounce there, right? And also, I mean, just look at the RSI. I mean, it could still be bullish divergence here if it makes another drop. And ES1 exclamation mark, which is the stock market S&P 500, has high correlation with Bitcoin, so something to also be paying attention to. Let's go ahead and go to Neiro, the dog coin. Okay, see what's going on with some of these smaller altcoins. Obviously they're going to be riskier, so if you guys are in these altcoins, especially as newbies, just know what you're getting yourself into. These can go down pretty significantly. Okay, let's go ahead and go to Neiro first. All right, I'm gonna wait for a trading view to load here. Neiro down over 7% today. What could be happening with this coin? Currently trading at about 0.000375. Let's take a look into the weekly time frame. I like to zoom out and just get an overview of what the market is looking like before zooming in and get more clarity and details. So, on the weekly time frame, this still looks like a rounded bottom pattern, right? You have your higher highs and higher lows, which is still a good trajectory because that's still an uptrend trajectory. You got higher highs and higher lows, and if you hold higher lows, the next move is a higher high. Now, I mentioned that Neiro broke out of this falling wedge pattern. That's probably more validated on a lower time frame there. The price target for this pattern is about 0.0001, just right underneath 0.0018. Okay. Price targets are estimates only. There could be more or less. Very much depends on the market and very much depends on what's happening with Bitcoin. Because if Bitcoin dumps, then a lot of these altcoin setups do not matter. All right, let's take a look into let's zoom in a little bit. Daily time frame. I just want to mention that Neiro is on some key support levels, including the weekly 21 SMA. Okay, so very important for it to hold that level. Now, this is the daily time frame. Neiro broke out of this falling wedge pattern again, and price target for this pattern here is about 0.00067, just right underneath that. It hasn't hit that target just yet. It did get a rejection. Let's see if it rebounds and continue towards that price target. Okay, it is in a smaller falling wedge again. Okay, so these are definitely patterns you want to be paying attention to because they're probably the most common. Okay, and very simple and effective. It usually tells you after an extensive downtrend on that time frame, the chances are it's gonna break out to the upside. Okay, as you guys can see, it has been for the ones I identified, and I'm not cherry picking here. Okay, so this is the 4-hour time frame. Neiro looks like it broke out of this one. Okay, so this breakout here for this price target would be about 0.00058, just right underneath that. Let's see if it can reach that target. Quite a bit of moving averages that's going to be acting as resistance above Neiro price action right now. Okay, so something to be paying attention to. And just because it breaks out to the upside of a pattern, it doesn't mean that it's going to 100% get to that price target. I mean, there's going to be a lot of scenarios that could happen. There could still be flops or fake outs that happen, and it breaks out way short of its target, and it dumps further down. I mean, I've seen these scenarios throughout my 5+ years of trading. Okay, so just gotta be continuously refreshing the charts on your own because this is just a snapshot of what it looks like, and as data comes in, the situation could change. Right now, it is on the daily 200 SMA as well as the weekly 21 SMA. Let's see if it holds this breakout and continues towards that price target. For Neiro, let's go ahead and go to the next coin here, which is going to be PNUT. Now, I know some of you guys asked me about the end of year targets for PNUT. I cannot answer that for you. I'm just gonna be straight up honest because that's not what it's not what technical analysis is about. Technical analysis about it's about seeing price action in a range and seeing what is likely to happen from within that range. Okay, that is what TA is mostly about. I mean, there's going to be other applications, but I can't tell you the end of the year target. Okay, um, if it actually gets really into like getting very close to a possible breakout, then I can give you an approximate time of when a move could potentially happen, right? But not that far out. I probably can't tell you what's going to happen in 2026. Okay, probably you need to use like other indicators that I'm not using here. You can drop a comment or insights into what you guys use if you guys know how to use that. But what I'm seeing here on this PNUT setup here on this daily time frame, it broke out of this falling wedge pattern back in June, and the price target here is going to be about just right underneath 42 cents. That is still valid because it broke out and still stayed above this upward trend line. And since it has hit about 34 cents and getting rejected, it has formed another smaller falling wedge pattern that is trying to break out of, as you guys can see. Price target for the smaller falling wedge pattern, let's just say if it breaks out by today, just for example, the price target would be about just right above 30 cents there. And if it doesn't break out by then, move along this upward trend line if this pattern is still intact. Let's go ahead and go to Turbo and see what's going on in here. Weekly time frame. All right. Weekly time frame. Let's just get a clearer view on what's going on here. There is a falling wedge pattern that broke out back in February of this year. Okay, since the breakout here, the price action has even dragged lower, but I still think this is a valid breakout because the price action is still above the upward trend line, and it's not uncommon to see price action breaking out of a falling wedge pattern and form some type of a downtrend or even another falling wedge pattern before it continues higher, just because a lot of times you're going to see quite a bit of moving averages above the breakout that could be acting as pretty strong resistance. In this case, it took a dip before going higher, so I still think this price target of about one just above 1 cent here for Turbo is still valid. It is approaching the weekly 21 SMA, the blue line here, at about 0.4 cents as support. Will it actually hit it? It's already hit it quite a few times as support, so doesn't need to hit it again. Well, it's going to be a support level if it does. Now, it is running within this probably more validated on a smaller time frame here. Let's take a look into the 4-hour time frame. Falling wedge pattern, okay? Price targets, if it breaks out, would be about 0.6 cents price target if it breaks out by this point. So this is still a pretty decent move here. Let's see if Turbo can actually break out of this pattern. Of course, got to consider the downside. I've seen falling wedges break down as well, so something to be paying attention to, even though it's not as likely. So this basically wraps it up for this video. Let me know if you guys want to continue seeing any more of these coins by dropping a like, comment, subscribe, or if you want to see any other coins. I'll see you on the next one.